Well, good morning. Welcome to B Cube Sunday morning. It is going to be an interesting Sunday morning. It's supposed to be Tom and Karen here, but Tom is off at a retreat for his professional life. Karen had lined up a small press. What was the name of that small press?
Not a pipe. And
Not a
Benjamin
pipe.
was not able to make it. So he may join us later on, but we currently do not have him. So we're going to talk about small presses, of which Bob and I actually know something.
We do, but I sometimes think that what you know about a small press, if it's more than 6 days old, you're out of date. Um, I don't know of anybody who keeps statistics for small presses, but it would be interesting if they did, because I
Bob,
see.
if they did, it would be very hard to do it because many small presses they don't belong to the Small Press Association. You'd have to be out hunting them down. The closest source of information would be the folks who run the submission grinder, because they're listing all of these small presses as places where you can send stories.
Yes, Greg Chamberlain might know.
Yep.
But not that I'm out looking for that, because I've noticed a lot of the small presses. You're a more active submitting writer than I am. Are the I've We were talking earlier that we're seeing more. Now, what are we seeing happening in the pay? I've noticed a lot of them showing up more are out there, at least on my feed. Maybe just because I respond to them when I see it. But are they paying us anything?
It's real interesting. I have to admit that on the submission grinder, when I go to look where I can submit stories, I have a filter on so that non-paying publications don't turn up. However, every week the submission grinder sends out a newsletter, and it lists all of the new presses. And these are presses that take books, presses that take short stories that are running either a magazine or an anthology. And I have to admit, most of them are paying. They're not paying well, but they're paying a penny or two a word.
Well, you know what? Um, on behalf of a small press while we're paying 10 cents a word now, and that's not forever. We may someday put a book out that we're paying less. The Our first story was 2 cents a word. And then, oh my God, we were successful. We made a little money, so we paid 3 cents a word. Um, it was 3 years breaking even on that book, and it was one of our best rated books.
Well, the reason that, from the writer's viewpoint, that you only want to deal with small presses as a rule that are paying at least 1 or 2 cents a word is you want a place that's organized enough to actually be able to handle some finances and track things and be a business. It's a small business, but it's a business. There is another model that I don't object to at all. And there are some small presses, a few, that actually manage to do high volume. They tend to be in horror and sometimes in romantasy, and they will give you a percentage. So they're paying you royalties, and they're actually doing a high enough volume that royalties is a decent deal. But before a writer joins with one of them, you need to look at um, how active they are on, say, Amazon. How much are they selling? And if you see they've got good volume, they've done a bunch of books, then it can be safe to go with them just for royalties. But royalties, from the publisher's viewpoint, are kind of complicated.
Yes, because let's just take the current volume. I mean, I don't know how interested they are in our model, both people are, but you sell a story to BQ Press. As soon as we publish, I send out a check to the people. Now, oddly enough, it's to the people who want to be paid. When I send you the contract, I ask you the question, says, do you want me to send you the money to you, or do you want me to send it to the ACLU? And our writers have donated well over $7,000 to the ACLU. And then I say, yeah, you got to deliver the first check. You were part of that team.
With Yanka and Blaze. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I say, royalties. Do you want to get royalties, or do you want to donate your royalties to the ACLU? Now, we have got 60 something people. Over almost 90 people in our current volume. So now I have got 90 people that I have got to figure out how I'm sending them money, and then which ones are getting a share, that they own a share, and has their share been transferred to the ACLU or not?
So, Bob, why do you do royalties? It seems complicated. And for me as a writer, it's not that much of an incentive beyond just getting paid.
That is a damn fine question. Because the deal is, most books, even a bestseller, never achieves royalties. Because royalties is when, after I pay my artist, after I've paid all the different authors, and there is enough to give every author a minimum payment, then I will send out a royalty, and I have to keep track of it. And then there's the complicated part about the royalty part going to the ACLU. They have their own spreadsheet. My life would be simpler if I stopped paying royalties and just said all royalties go to the ACLU, and I will, when it achieves a certain amount for a book, boom, it goes to them. That's a brilliant question, Karen.
Because as a writer, the majority of the publications I write for, the vast majority, just pay me a fee. Some of them give me 2 cents a word, some of them 8 cents a word. And as a writer, I actually find that easier to keep track of. At the end of the year, I just add up what people paid me for my stories, and I'm done. Royalties actually get reported in a whole different column for me, which is annoying.
Well, I tell you what, I'll change my contract on this book because I haven't had everybody sign it yet, and just say all the royalty, I'll figure out a way just to go it all to the ACLU. Because I remember the first time I sent out a small royalty check. Our first book, the first royalty check was almost $200, which, because we only paid 2 cents a word. But when you're paying 10 cents a word, it's it makes far less money they've already received most of the royalties they're going to receive.
Exactly.
And so I think your point would be best that expect a publisher paying 2 cents a word should offer royalties in case the book catches fire, because that way the writers are getting the benefit of their work. A publisher that's paying 5 to 10 cents a word, probably there's no real benefit, because that initial outlay of funds is going to eat up any royalties.
Yeah. And the other thing is that writers are really motivated to go for the higher initial pay, because for a lot of folks, that's the criteria you use to get into the SFWA, science fiction and fantasy writers, or into the horror writers of America. I just realized I'm eligible to apply to the horror writers, and I'm going to do it. But that hadn't occurred to me.
Well, there's a lot of things that never occur to us until we talk about them. Uh,
True.
and when somebody like you says something, because for those of you listening, I'm going to give you a hint. Karen's reasonably smart and has a broader background in almost anything than most of us. So I may not respond or think about it for more than an answer right away. But it's like a week later, you're saying, "Oh yeah, uh, that's that makes sense."
Well,
Because
speaking of things that make sense, Bob, it really makes sense to me that you do books, because when I look at small publishers, the ones doing books have they sustain longer, and they seem much saner than the ones who are doing magazines.
well, magazines are
The
hard.
magazine, well, you have to keep churning it out. You get on a schedule, they start delaying, they miss issues. Even with major um, or mid-sized publishers, it's really hard to keep that magazine grinding. And those are often the publishers that I see falter and say, okay, we've been doing this for 2 years and now we're exhausted and burnt out and we quit. Whereas I notice that these small publishers who stick with books can really pace themselves to accommodate changes in their lives, changes in things that are going on, and they manage to get the books out. And nobody's saying, where's the spring issue of your books?
Well, trust me, they're
And I
saying
think,
where book.
one of
But
these small publishers who I think I'm really impressed with is your friend Frog Jones, Impulsive
Frog is,
Walrus.
yeah, I like Frog.
They're
I
not
don't
putting
know.
out a lot of books, but the ones they're putting out are great, and they do these really killer Kickstarters.
Frog, uh, Frog is blessed not only with a great mind and a good soul, but his partner is dogmatic and she's smart. If you ever said, I want to design a partner person to help me succeed in life, Esther is that person. That is she is
Yeah. No, it really helps to do it as a partnership. But there are folks who are doing it solo. Patrick Swenson, Fairwood Press, is something that he kept going. He chugged along while he was working as a teacher. And now that he's retired, they're up for all kinds of prizes. They've really caught fire. They're doing amazing stuff. He must be doing more than 20 titles a year, and they look fantastic.
Yeah, and
So,
he's brilliant. And it's all of the things that he's built in the years of the struggle, distribution. I mean, you hear him talk about getting the shipment in and setting out in the garage and packaging it up for distribution. Uh, he's definitely impresses me. They
one of the things that um, Baba Shaggy Baba, who I'm determined to find out who that is someday, has just said in our questions, does anyone use the submission grinder? The submission grinder is my Bible. I am a contributing in that I pay them a contribution. I love the submission grinder. It is a huge relational database, and you can use your own section of it to organize your own stuff. I love it. If I didn't use it, I would never remember who I'd sent anything to. So yeah,
I
but
that's a good plug. Now, do you have a link for it,
you
Baba?
just type in the submission
Baba
grinder.
Yaga, Shaggy, Baba, blah, blah, blah. Type in the
Yes.
link for Submission Grinder there in the comment section as long as you're there, please. That way, uh, take, I know how to cure the issue of Baba Yaga, Baba, and that is just uh, okay. He uses it. He,
Yes.
okay, Bob, you're killing me, man. Uh, the would you type in that link now? Make Karen happy. So
Yeah. So, Bob, another issue you talked about distribution. I've been doing a lot of work with a fellow named J. Scott Coatsworth, and he runs a book publishing company. It's very, very hybrid. It's called Limfic. He has a big website where, if you're a member, you can list your book. People can search for your book. People review your book. He sends out a newsletter featuring the members' books. But the really cool thing he does is he gets tables at Worldcon and stuff like that. And all of us bring our books and we help him staff the table, because staffing a table at a convention is a pain in the rear, and it's something that small publishers have to do.
and
And
it's
I
a
see you, and I see Frog, and it takes your entire weekend at the table.
that, and I can guarantee you, I don't think anybody, even the big houses, sell enough books at a table to make a wage out of it. It's purely promotion, but it's good
Yeah,
promotion.
it's really excellent promotion. And when I submit, when I go to submit a story to a publisher, I go and I look and I see, where do they go with their books? Do they do a newsletter? Do they promote it? There are a couple of small presses that list on the Grinder that have done like 20 books, and they're fascinating themed anthologies, and they don't promote them. They get maybe 3 reviews on Amazon. They're not going to conventions. And I find this really discouraging, because I feel like even if they accept my story and pay me a decent, chunk for it, I feel like my story gets buried. It like I'm like sending it to a graveyard. And I will look for somebody who pays a lot less money to the writer, but who is out distributing my book everywhere. They've got 200 reviews on Amazon, because a lot of writers are building a career and they want to get their books out there.
And that's, that is the challenge. I mean, getting more than a 2 or 3 dozen reviews on Amazon is a huge challenge. I heard a phrase the other day, uh, the post reading world. That I mean, for a while there, I was ready to go out there and almost give up, because I was seeing all the people, not the people who were writing for us, who depended on us to try and sell the books, but people who live in a more cultured world where they keep unicorns in their backyard, or so they think, who would say, "Oh no, you can't buy a book, can't buy on Amazon." Well, guess what? If you're a small press, Amazon's where you sell. Now you make it available everywhere you can. You do the rest of it. You make it available for
Bookshop, Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
yeah. But no matter how much you do that, if you're probably getting 80% of your sales through Amazon, unless you just flat don't do it. And every sale I don't make is a royalty not paid, is a book that just doesn't quite get all the opportunities, because
So, Bob, I hang out a lot at a local bookstore. And one of the things I'm discovering is, as a writer, that if I write a book which is local, which is about Seattle stuff, Those books sell really, really well, and they sell in the bookstores. There's like a whole other publishing niche that has occurred within the fandom. Um, and I'm trying to find the conventions and the meetups for politics to take B Cubed Press to those. So
That
it's
is, yeah, that is interesting because we're in a weird niche. We sell best when we write political, uh, with a and we have well-known authors, we have good authors, we have good books, but it's you never know what's going to drive
well,
a sale.
one thing that has really frustrated me as a potential bookseller who's lives with a bookseller is a great place to sell B Cubed books is at the local Seattle street fairs and farmers markets. And the problem is with the farmers markets, you have to apply like a year in advance, and you have to be there every single weekend all summer, which is not going to happen for me, even for stuff that is a once a season, like the Fremont Fair. You have to apply 9 months in advance. And that's sort of not the way my brain works around publications distribution.
Yeah,
So
we have
yeah,
the same issue. There's an art in the park goes on up here. Um, it's a perfect place to sell our books, but you definitely have to apply well in advance. And it's an outdoor thing, and it used to be that it was co-located often with um the Ren Fair. Not anymore, and it's very variable. And I just I love the doing it, but the heat will drive your customers because where we live, it it's going to be 103. It was supposed to have been 103 Thursday, and
yikes.
it's going to be 80 in a couple of days. You never know what the temperature is going to be like.
Well,
But
here in Seattle, we've got something called the Authors Network, and they sell at local community fairs and stuff. And you buy a seat. Essentially, each author does. So they'll have maybe 5 to 10 authors at an event, and you sell there. And I have considered joining them. Joe Folensby, you've
yeah,
published him. He's
he's a
out with
great.
the He's out with the network. He has several books. He's out with the network this weekend, and I'm real curious to find out how he does. So
Hey Joe, you out? Oh, he's just out there this weekend, so he's
he
not.
is. He's out selling books today. He had a picture up on Facebook yesterday. But I met those authors when I was at the Folklife Festival. And I did not feel as though Folklife was a great place to sell books. And I'm in an interesting situation with the B Cubed stuff because my stuff is very political. The only book I've done is a collection of reprints, most of which appeared at B Cubed. And it's highly political, kind of dark stuff. And I don't know if it fits with a street fair atmosphere where people aren't generally looking to hear about protesters and Trump. So yeah, it's tough.
Well, I can tell you this: it's tough these days. People are actually almost burned out on the politics.
Yep. People are exhausted, they're despairing. I'm looking at, I follow Paul Krugman and Robert Reich really closely, as well as Heather Cox Richardson, and people are really getting frightened around the midterms. Not about losing the midterms, but about not being able to have them. People are getting scared.
Oh God! I mean, the casualness with which this guy just erased the Federal Election Commission, literally. just fired everybody, and it barely was a blurb on the
No,
news.
well, you know, it's really interesting. What I've just been frustrated about for the past um, 9 years or more is people saying, well, he can't do that. And then he does it and nothing happens. I mean, that's what an oligarchy is. And I don't get on people for the fact, people have run out of rage. Yeah, they've run out of rage.
Yeah, there is a point when you do. I'm I know people that are just they really know Trump is bad. I mean, there's just no other word for it. The man is gleefully destroying beauty, good things. He's like a fella. I could see him walking in if he was had enough um, oomph to be able to carry a hammer. He is the kind of guy I would imagine walking into the Smithsonian and just taking a hammer to an exhibit just because he could. The destruction that he renders to our country feels more like, well, why'd you do that? Because I
Do you know what
could.
I do you know what I'm finding really interesting? Um, I'm finding interesting the fact that at the beginning of all of this, they're going to come for the so and so, and then they'll come for so and so, and then they'll come for you. There were all these very snide, sort of self satisfied remarks about the good Germans and, people, how terrible it was that the good Germans, went home to their dinners and went to their Gasthouses while the Jews were being hauled away. Well, you know something? We're all good Germans now. We're out there, we're still cooking our dinners, growing our tomatoes, making sure our kids get to school, doing all this stuff. And the school cafeteria lady got hauled away by ICE. And it's not that we're bad people, but we are really stuck. And I actually, as someone who has talked a lot about leaving the country, I actually think I've gotten past the point where I can do that. And we're also getting past the point where other countries want us. They don't.
It's and the idea. I have a friend who's I don't want to. I hate the use of the word illegal, but they're undocumented, sufficient to survive an ICE scrutiny. And I says to myself when this first started going, I said, well, I've got an unused apartment in the basement, and all of a sudden the awareness that when that happens, if you do that, they're going to break down your front door, they're going to kill your dog, and they're going to drag the people out and probably beat the shit out of you in the process. And suddenly, what seems like a casual "Hey, I'm with you, buddy. We're there," is the
Yeah.
reality of dead bodies in my front yard.
Yeah. I mean, and it's real interesting. I'm talking to people who are trying to go overseas, and the banks and everything are really tightening up on moving money. There are all these things in the banks that have to do with preventing drug dealers from moving large amounts of money around, but they can also be used to prevent you from taking your assets overseas. And it was not something I had anticipated. And when I started looking into it, it really got kind of scary. The time to have moved stuff was 8 years ago.
The
So yeah.
and how do you? I mean, we went from. I mean, how many people have now been killed in Memphis?
Yeah.
The I got in the corner of my living room. I pulled out my Black Lives Matter uh, sign. Now I have laid in a hot street with a Black Lives Matter protest over in Kennewick next to other protesters for the amount of time that that choking took place, and it's a long time, guys. And but we are not the protest movements are not there right now to we have the feel good protests, where we feel, but the intense, you are killing us, you know.
Well, the point is, most Americans are not willing to go out and get shot in the street. And right now, if you go out and protest, you risk being shot or being run over by the police. I was just in Dublin, and I was in Dublin twice on my way to Turkey and on my way back. And when I was initially there, I walked down the high street, which they which they closed to traffic. It's got their version of Nordstrom and stuff like that. And when I came back from Turkey, I went back to the high street to go out to dinner. And the high street was covered in flowers and all these little posters, handmade. And we went and looked, and here's what happened. A local immigrant who is homeless had shoplifted a $10 item from the local fancy shopping center. And the security guard had gone out and tackled him and held him down and killed him by kneeling on him. He had killed the guy who was a big, friendly immigrant who lived in a homeless shelter. The response in Ireland was an apology from the store. The police cleared the street and allowed thousands of marchers to march on the weekend. Everyone bought flowers. People brought up protest signs. People complained. They stopped the Lias, the tram, to enable the protest to take place, and nobody got shot. And of course, in America, if you had 1,000 people out protesting this, somebody would have been run over or shot. And I thought to myself, people were angry, people were passionate, there was racism, there was classism, there was anti-immigrant and pro-immigrant sentiment, but the discussion went to the street without anyone being killed. And my initial reaction was, in America, this would have been a civil bloodbath.
I know a protest I want to do, and I just don't know how to pull it off yet. You heard about the baby in Memphis? The mom or the father, I don't, stole a package of Pampers, and they saw the need to fire on the car
in the parking lot. Yes.
And there's a person that I'm not going to say kill him, execute him, or hang him, but I'm going to say he doesn't ever need to be able to touch a gun again, never needs to be working in law enforcement again, and probably needs to find out what the inside of a jail cell looks like for a few months. But they killed a 1-year-old baby. And I just want to have a protest where drive by, throw your pamper box out the window, we'll stack it up, we'll get it where it needs to be. But no baby needs to die because it needed Pampers.
So, Bob, in terms of protests, we write as a protest, and we write fiction as a protest, and it do you think we've gotten, I read Krugman, I read Reich, do you think we've gotten past the point where expressing outrage in print is effective?
Yes and no. Yes, because our readership is saturated. Okay, you throw a new outrage out in a piece of well-written text, and it's going to hit people who have already read that kind of stuff. what made our first book wonderful was there was a hungry group of people out there that wanted to read about protests. They wanted to read about resistance. They wanted to read about people that felt like them, about what's happening to the rest of the world. You know, um,
I, I want to suggest that what we're doing is still valid, but for a different reason. I
go
think
for
what
it.
we're I think what we're doing now is bearing witness. We're
Okay,
creating we're creating a historic record. And a lot of stuff that's on the internet is going to get erased. That's what we're discovering now, that the Wayback Machine and stuff, which keeps a record of the internet, is being attacked. And digital stuff, I mean, I get terrified every time I handle a legal document or a bill online, because I fully expect the company to say to me, "You didn't pay that. You didn't sign that. We don't owe this." My insurance company wants me to go completely digital. I don't trust them. I want a physical piece of paper in case I have to go to court with them. And what I think we're doing with these books is we are creating something that a historian will find in a basement in 200 years and say, "My God, this is how people thought and felt then."
I would. You're. That's an interesting point because we can think that the digital record, the permanent record that our fifth grade teacher warned us about, you know, when we flushed the toilet 3 times just because we wanted to have everybody joke about it. Don't laugh. I got whacked on my bottom for doing that uh, in the fourth grade. The is that we assume a permanent record is a permanent record, but it's somebody has to fund the storage, the data center or whatever that keeps all of those, that information. And with the volume of information being produced these days, I don't see anybody voluntarily stepping up to do it.
They moved the National Archives that was out here in Seattle, and they were going to take all this stuff about the tribes and the history of Washington and take it like far, far, far away. And Washington fought to keep it in Seattle, because when they take it far away, it can disappear. It is, I mean, so many documents get vanished. And one of the ways that you save information in a time of political oppression is a distributed system where it goes to small places in small towns, and you keep it there because it's the only safe place to keep it. Because you cannot, I mean, in this day and age, where the Smithsonian is about to be eviscerated, you cannot trust the so-called public record. Do you trust Jeff Bezos to keep good track of the Washington Post's historic stuff with all the
I
speeches by Lyndon Johnson and the Watergate files? That stuff could be hidden away and erased from public memory.
It very well could be. I mean, I figured that the mistake we sometimes make is we think that those people are stupid. No, they're Trump may be diminished, but he is surrounded by evil men and women. And the day when you used to be able to say it was just a bunch of old bad white men is gone. Um, there's plenty of evil, there are old bad, old evil white men around out there. Trust me. But there's also plenty of old that now it's not just old; it's wealth.
Do you know what I find really tremendously fascinating? If you look at who Trump has in his administration in mid-level positions, particularly the Justice Department, is many of those folks are from working class families of color that came up through the ranks. And as people have fled the Justice Department, they have risen up and they have wonderful positions with wonderful jobs, which is what their families have wanted them to have. And when you look at who is filing a lot of these briefs, Many of these people are people from, ironically, immigrant families who are second and third generation with law degrees. And it's really, it's ironic and it's tragic.
It is. I saw a Facebook post that had a picture of a whole new generation of Justice Department people.
It's all white.
Yeah. So if it's a matter of,
Well,
oh, wait a second here. I see Cheryl Alexander
yes.
saying, giving more of the.
And and so I was just in Europe, and I was just in Turkey, and people in Europe have a lot more memory of living in oppressive regimes. There's a whole history there of the victor stomping the Irish being stomped by the British. They remember this. They talk about it. Turkey has had incredible upheaval. I was over there right now, and 100 years ago in Turkey, they changed the writing system to be romance writing that letter system that we understand. They were able to do it because the vast majority of people in Turkey were illiterate, and they have an extremely potentially repressive regime, and they are extremely anti certain other groups in the area. I was advised by everybody not to wear my Star of David while I was in Turkey, and I didn't. Um, but the Europeans are very pragmatic about living with repressive governments and doing what the government tells you, and how quickly the government can change. When I was living in Italy many years ago, I'd been a reporter in the United States, and I thought it would be cute when my Italian got going to interview the mayor. And I interviewed the mayor of the little town that I was in. And I went to a dinner party and said, I interviewed the mayor, and he's a communist. Many mayors, town level is communist in Italy, communist. And everyone bursts out laughing at the dinner party. And I said, why are you laughing? And they said, because when Mussolini was around, the mayor was a brown shirt. And basically, you just change to, the politicians change to suit whoever is in charge. And the Europeans are extremely pragmatic about this. And when they see us running around freaking out about Trump, they're like, yeah, governments change. The fascists come in. It's your turn.
It's
It's pretty
our
grim.
turn.
It's our turn.
That is,
And we hope we survive it.
the people will survive it, but will our institutions? Because if you look at what the Trump has done, is he has made his efforts have focused on not destroying individuals, though he does a fine job of that, but destroying institutions, um, or using the institutions uh, to where necessary to destroy people. Like, I mean, look at Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
You know, CBS and Paramount want their merger. Colbert was just a price that they traded him off. He was a piece on the board. You know.
Well, what's interesting is Trump and Stephen Miller and everybody, they have destabilized the systems, and they're making a bet that once the systems are destabilized, they will be in charge. But that's not a sure bet. Somebody else may end up in charge. It may not be them. But once you've destabilized it, a powerful group can come in and seize control. It may not be them. I'm looking right now at the growth of, of religious groups in the United States. There's been a lot written about that. And I was fascinated to discover that the Eli Lilly Company has a completely upfront system of charitable contributions, and the vast majority of those contributions go to Christian churches. And that Lilly's stated goal is to use their charitable money to reinforce Christianity in the United States, which is amazing. This is tax deductible, charitable contributions, and it's part of the drive to have a Christian organizations take over the government, which may not be quite the same as what Trump has in mind.
Well, I read an article that talked about the fact that says, hey, anybody who thinks that all the powers and privileges that have been invested in Trump as president are going to remain intact when a Democrat is sitting in there hasn't met John Roberts. They
Yeah.
will, um, and if Trump gets 2 more years and the Senate, he will have replaced all of those old stalwarts with younger Amy Coney Barrett's. The who's the guy that likes beer?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Brent Kavanaugh,
yeah, they're
my
those
classmate.
guys. Oh yeah, sorry. The
Boy,
but
does my university ever have a lot to be embarrassed about, starting with Clarence Thomas? I mean, I don't see why they can't just withdraw his law degree. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. We all want things like this to be able to happen, but does it matter? Does anything that is happening uh, going to change something? What's going to change?
I the whole Mitch McConnell thing is absolutely surrealistic.
Well, yeah, he's not going to die until August 3rd, no matter what. I mean, the maggots can be crawling out of his ears, and flies will be dancing jigs on his forehead, but that man's going to be alive until August 3rd. And just the mere, I mean, and I'm shocked that nobody has brought up Woodrow Wilson
Okay.
regarding Trump. I mean, I read another little article about he's got an aide that has been with him for the last 3 years that seems to be the Trump speaker, that when something comes out that you don't see her on camera a lot, but it's kind of like Woodrow Wilson's wife. You know, for those of you who don't know, Woodrow Wilson suffered a debilitating stroke, and his wife was acting president for the last couple of years of his administration.
Did it
And
improve things?
do what?
Did it improve things?
Probably. I don't know. I haven't read to see whether she did a better job than him. But the mere fact that the president is so, all you got to be is the person standing at the door when somebody wants in, and the ability to say no. Here, let me go ask him. And here's what he says. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Now, and how long will Trump? I mean, we had a number of stories about where Trump dies and is replaced by a robot or some other element. You know, I always tried to minimize the dead president stories, and I lost some really great stories when I said, no, you cannot assassinate Trump. There is no plot line that is unique enough that I'm going to let you kill the president of the United States.
Although we are looking at one in which it occurs, but there's a caveat that enables it to happen. Think about it, Bob. It's the story I'm editing right now.
Okay. Yeah. How you
But
doing on that?
I'm doing just fine. The author and I are in discussions.
Yeah, that's a wildly, what do you call
Yes,
that fantasy where magical realism? Uh,
yes. It's wonderful and it's going to be great. Yeah. No, this is Bob and I really do owe you guys another book, and we are finishing it. We both had a really rough spring, and things are getting together now, and we're cranking.
Actually, yeah, it is. I've got the actual book on my hard drive where I'm plugging stories into it that I burned out on editing there for a bit and had a few that had reached a point where I just need to step back. And so I stepped back to the book, and now I'm assembling the book with the stories that are finished. And as soon as I get that done, I know I'm going to be able to go finish some of the edits that are out there because
Yeah,
this is a huge book.
it's a huge book. I'm really excited about the book. I'm excited about the cover. I'm excited about all of it. And Bob, I've got us a spot at a table at Worldcon where I can sell it if we can have it by then.
I think we should be able to, and because I mean we've got a Jeff
If
Sturge.
not, if not, I can sell it at World Fantasy.
Oh, let me pull. Do those sounds come through with
Yes, that
appropriate?
was
Uh,
amazing.
you know,
Yes.
this is my
You're
Jeff.
upside down. You're upside down. Although that may be hugely appropriate, isn't that supposed to be a distress signal if it's upside down, if the flag is upside down?
I had it right. Oh no, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Oh yeah, I didn't. But yeah,
But I like the
the,
idea of it as a distress signal. I love
now
it.
Jeff is watching today. Jeff is going to take a
Jeff
look
is
at
ready to shoot me if he's watching today.
and say, "Yeah, okay."
No,
Oh
no.
God. I wonder what I broke.
Oh, we're in trouble with Jeff now. Yes.
I
I
broke.
want to know who's writing about the planet with the giant maggots that takes like lobster.
Say that again.
Someone is on our feed is writing about a planet that has giant maggots that taste like lobster, and I want to go to that planet.
Actually, I think maggots do to a degree. Uh, the mealy bugs, the ones that curl up with little shells, they're rather tasty. Uh, and
What? I think I'm certainly not going to, although I have eaten the Sardinian cheese where the maggots crawl through it and excrete in it, Casa Sardu, which is delicious. But the maggots leave first.
hey, Cheryl, just imagine the maggots are crawling across the forehead and everything, right? But they're turning orange as they eat lunch. You know, little orange maggots. No, that's just not. You're right. That's too much. I'm going to go to hell for that. Um, and oh, I hear by the way. You know, I have not yet met. How many times do we have to hear the story about officer cams, um, body cams, showing the side of a car or going away from them, where they with a dead person in it, where they tell the story about how afraid they were for their life. That's one of the things that pisses me off about the state of Washington is that in order for an officer to kill somebody, all they have to do is say, I was afraid. Well, guess what? You're in the wrong frickin' job. if your only recourse to being afraid is to pull out your gun and shoot somebody, then you're in the wrong job.
That was a change in police procedure which occurred some years ago, and it is associated and attributed to a particular trainer who became very popular, who instead of emphasizing you're protecting the community, began emphasizing you're saving your own life.
Well, yeah, that's good. I mean, I am all for police officers remaining alive at the end of their shift. I think that's important. But I think if we establish a system where, given a choice between a 1 year old baby staying alive uh, and a police officer not getting to shoot something, I'm going to vote for the baby
Well,
every time.
another issue when you see a lot of these situations is the police officer is in danger because they refuse to get out of the way. You know, you can step aside when a speeding car comes and you can shoot out the tires from behind, but instead they shoot through the windshield at the driver because it's the macho
Or
thing to do.
or in this case, the passenger window.
Yeah.
We had that
Yeah.
happen up here. They had a policeman shot somebody. I had been in that parking lot. That parking lot was something where you needed to do a 3 point turn just to get in and out of it. And when I read the story, I would have thought it was at the Walmart parking lot, and the officer was facing down a speeding, someone coming at them at 100 miles an hour. We just make it too damned easy for people to shoot people. Stand your
Yeah.
ground, and yeah, in Florida, no, don't get out of the way. Just stand your ground. Uh, yeah, okay. Ever been around a herd of cattle? I have. I don't. I didn't find the urge to stand my
In
ground.
front of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's yeah. It's a difficult situation. And, you know, Seattle is at the point now where police don't, we have a shortage of police, and police don't come unless something really awful is going on. It's kind of amazing. And one of the reasons we're short police is that when police respond, even to something fairly minor, they'll send 5 or 6 cars. So, of course, on Friday night, if you're sending multiple cars to respond to my neighbor and I are having a fight, you know, and he pulled a gun, you don't have cars to send anywhere else because you sent them there. And it's Norm Stamper, who was a police chief. I think he was a deputy in Los Angeles, then he was the police chief in Seattle, wrote a fabulous book about why policing has turned into a paramilitary operation. And I urge people who want to read the inside story of police to read the book by Norm Stamper. Excellent book.
I think I shall, because you know what? I wore a badge briefly. Not a well-known fact. Uh,
Were you an MP?
what?
Were you military police?
Very briefly, uh, we called them master at arms. But you know, I can tell you, seeing anyway, we're not talking about that. Norm Stamper,
Yes.
and the name of the book was.
Uh, I have to look that up.
Well, when
It's
you look
it's
it up,
hold
because
on.
if we can increase the understanding of the world, as opposed to just like I just did, made vague comments about the how my opinion on the police policy of save
The book
yourself
is
first,
the book
citizens
is
later.
called the book is called To Protect and Serve.
Oh, back when that was the real motto.
And Norm is a great writer. I mean, I read it like I was reading a Michael Connelly mystery. It was awesome.
Well, good. Does it give you a better understanding?
Yes.
Good. Oh,
And he taught, it's about his failed efforts to reform the police department.
nothing teaches like failure.
Well, he went from really believing in what they were doing to thinking, oh, this is not working. It's very interesting.
That is
So,
interesting.
Bob, we are running out of time.
Oh, I know. But when it comes to chatting with you about this kind of stuff, we could go all day. Now,
We could, but the sun came out in Seattle.
oh, hey, and I don't have a partner, but I'm going to get one for next week. Bob's Sunday School is next week.
I'm excited.
Um, the You see, growing up in a fundamentalist church with long-winded preachers and reasonable lighting, I found that reading the Bible for an hour every Sunday was the one thing I could do. If I brought a comic book or a book paperback to church, boy, would I have been bad. But I picked up the Bible, and you'd be amazed at the number of little old ladies who told me how sweet it was to see me there reading that, because somehow it just showed that I had a better appreciation. No, 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 no. I had a great appreciation, but some of the earliest science fiction, Conan the Barbarian. I mean, you want to read Samson or you want to read Conan the Barbarian? Hey, pick one. Uh, they're the same. Um, you want to count the number of times Eve was in the Bible? Um, we'll talk about that next week. But I loved reading it, and the David and his sons and the kingdoms that he built that lasted as long as his progeny. Fascinating stuff. So, and don't get me going on Moses. If you think Moses and Aaron were sacred holy men, you might not want to tune in, because they had a dark side. But anyway, it's all fun, and I'll urge you to not look up Japheth. Allow yourself to be surprised as and everything. But it's a fun time. I just really wish that maybe Joel Osteen will let me teach Sunday school at his church. I'd go back to Houston just to do that. Taking and go a long way from the one where we used to have the little sandbox. At Nest City Assembly of God Church had a sandbox in the bottom, down in the basement. The wood was painted gray, and they filled it with sand, and then they would stick figures in there so they could have little panoramas of how it was going. But they never used ketchup to emphasize the the blood in the sand. Okay, I'm
Bob.
yeah, it's way too much fun. And Baba, I think yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you after the show there. But thank you guys all for coming.
Yes,
And
thank you.
it's and who was our scheduled guest again?
Benjamin Gorman, who I hope to get on, but I promise that I will bring on a small publisher in the next few months, because I really want to do that show.
Yeah, and I think I want to have somebody do a show about the honest to God, are we in a post literacy, a post reading, not so much literacy, but post reading? Because I can remember when I was on the school board, I had pointed out that take a look at a cargo box or a shipping container and ask yourself, wasn't this is now designed for somebody who's walking up at a glance can look at all the pictographs and know everything they need to know about how to handle this container. They didn't have to read a single word of text to do it. And so I just asked the question that says, are we in a place where literacy is not quite as important as it was? Boy, did I get hear about it, and the conversation went no further. But I still think about stuff like that. Thank
Yeah.
you, Karen.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
And tell Tom that we missed him. It would have been a much better show if he was here because I looked at our ratings. Our ratings are not near Tom level.
I'll tell him. He'll be back.
Okay. Thank you. And bye bye.